So I just wanted to welcome everyone to one of our Easy Properties webinars. It's been a little while since we've done one. I'm very pleased to welcome Samuel, who is the head of sales at BLOK. BLOK, we've done 3 raises. We're in the middle of our 3rd raise with BLOK. We've done 2 other raises with you guys, 6 on N and 4 on O, both of which were very successful on the platform. We've had more than 16,000 people invest in those 2, well, the units that we bought in those 2 developments. And I think raised almost 20 million rand on those 2 transactions. So yeah, it's great to be talking to you and get to understand a little bit more about BLOK the business and this new raise that we're doing 40 on L. So yeah, welcome to the Easy Properties community.
Welcome, guys.
So, I mean, maybe first of all, I mean, BLOK is very well known and it's kind of synonymous with doing developments in Sea Point along the Atlantic seaboard. So why are you guys kind of moved across to the Bo Kaap CBD area? What's special about Bo Kaap and why moving over there?
So look, this was a development we did a couple of years ago. And sorry, first off, thank you very much for the introduction. And yeah, sorry, just to jump back in. So it's a development we did a couple of years ago. In about 2019, it was completed. So look, for us, the Bo Kaap is a special place. And I think for most of the people in Cape Town as well. It holds a lot of history, has a lot of cultural significance. The location's obviously great, you know, buried in the under Signal Hill, overlooking the City Bowl. You know, you get views of the ocean, views of Table Mountain. It's quite a significant location, to say the least. And yeah, I mean, we wanted to kind of pay homage to that area by designing a building that spoke to, you know, the surrounding kind of houses and culture that Bo Kaap has to offer.
Yeah, and I mean, for people who don't know, of which there will be thousands of Easy Properties investors that don't know much about Bo Kaap, maybe just explain, if you will, the significance of the color of 40 on L. And the Bo Kaap thing, you know, why is it an area of such significance and why the colors?
So, I mean, look, to jump into basically how we got, if you've ever been, I'm sure most of the guys have seen pictures of Bo Kaap and all the different colorful homes that kind of exist there. So when we designed the building, we wanted to pay homage to that. So we got, you know, a lot of our professionals give input. We did the design of the building, kind of basically playing into that. So, you know, when you see it from the outside, we wanted to design something that isn't a massive eyesore. It almost fits into the surrounding area. And that's kind of how we came up with, you know, the color palette and the design. When we did the actual painting of the building, we tried to use local painters from the area as well. And I mean, look, it's known to be a massive hotspot for foreign travelers. So we wanted to build something that plays into the culture, and it seems that we've been able to do that. I mean, if you're ever at the building, it's fantastic to see kind of all the Germans, the people from the Netherlands, you know, kind of covering the deck. It's quite a special place.
Yeah, I think one of the things which, I mean, I particularly like about it is the historical significance. You know, I was reading up about it, obviously, when we started talking to you guys about doing a deal together with BLOK and Easy Properties. And, you know, the fact that it was largely back in the day, like, you know, it housed a lot of the Malay slaves that were brought over back in the day. And you know, it was a grey, drab area, obviously, you know, with a lot of kind of sorrow and hardship and things like that. And in the post democracy in South Africa, it just exploded with these colors. People celebrated the new South Africa and the dawn of this new democracy by painting all their houses these wonderful, bright, happy, positive colors. And it's I just love the fact that you guys have designed that building to fit in with all of that, celebrate all those colors, the new South Africa. I think there's a lot of similarities between that explosion of color and the democratization, actually, funny enough, that Easy Properties has been able to offer in terms of property investment. And it just seems to go full circle for me in a lot of those things. So yeah, it's a very exciting one for us to get involved in. I think one of the one of the questions we always like to ask the developers, you know, a lot of our guys will not have any experience in property development. You know, the guys are getting involved in investment and things like that. But what kind of obstacles does one come up against when you know, doing a development of this size in that area? How did you overcome these difficulties or obstacles? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, of course. I think I'll jump into one of the big ones, which was we had massive construction challenges there. So due to kind of the location and the steep hills, we weren't able to get cranes onto the site. So, you know, developing a building without cranes, especially of this kind of size, is not an easy feat. Let's say in 2020 or 2019. Yeah. So we had to do a lot of research into kind of Chinese construction strategies on how to move massive items across the site without the use of a crane. That in itself was super interesting. You know, you've got a lot of pulleys and levers, that kind of systems and processes that go into place. And yeah, you know, it's interesting to go back a couple of years and see how the guys did it back then. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show the massive kind of efficiency that technology provides in today's time as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a lot of similarities between that construction and maybe some of the ancient pyramids back in the day as well, with levees, I mean, you know, levers and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
What is your guys' view on the Bo Kaap market over the next 5 years?
So, I mean, look, the best thing is I went to a talk with the mayor the other night, and one of the really interesting things that they were speaking about was, you know, tourism in South Africa as a whole and tourism in the Western Cape. So, I mean, you know, there's no doubt that in the Western Cape, we've got, you know, probably some of the most beautiful attractions in the world, you know, from the beaches to the cities, to the ocean, to the mountain, with Table Mountain obviously being one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And one of the interesting things that he was saying was, you know, you look at a place like Rome, which had about 92 million tourists come into it last year. And then you look at a place like Cape Town, which had 3.7 million. It's not to say that we will ever get to the 92 million mark, but, you know, obviously with Rome being in Europe and it's very easily accessible, you know, there's obviously a lot of things that kind of drive a lot of tourism there for sure. But, you know, if you look at the kind of actions that the Western Cape specifically is taking to kind of increase direct flights in and out of Cape Town, you know, the constant marketing and push we're doing to kind of make our city more safe and get kind of international awareness about, you know, how beautiful Cape Town is and what we have to offer, you know, to double our numbers from 3.7 mil to even 7 million is not far off. You know, it's quite a realistic feat. Yeah. And, you know, that will have a massive significance for the whole of the Western Cape. You know, areas like the Bo Kaap, specifically Sea Point, because of the tourism drive and the amount of short-term revenue growth that you'll see there, not only from, you know, higher demand pushing rates up, but also just from a higher demand in terms of people wanting to come and stay here. So, you know, all of those kind of factors just drive growth and make these areas, you know, more appealing to the rest of the world. Awareness is obviously great for Cape Town.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mention in light of that the kind of European tourists that you're already seeing in the 40 building. I mean, as a thumbs up, I mean, maybe you've got the information or maybe you've just got an idea, but the building itself, it's made up of both long-term tenants, people who are staying and living in Cape Town, and then obviously the short-term Airbnb style apartments with tourists, which is obviously what our particular investment is going to be based upon. But as a kind of percentage, have you got any ideas about how many people live there, how many apartments are being rented out as short-term stay units?
Yeah, so I think it's about 30% owner occupiers that stay there, with the balance being, you know, either between short-term completely, meaning that they just use as investments for, you know, guys coming in and out, and then with a small percentage being holiday homes as well, you know, so foreigners that are abroad, some South Africans as well that kind of just want a little home away from home buried in the city.
Okay. And other developments going up in the area of Bo Kaap itself, are there other things? I mean, I was down in Cape Town a little while ago and I didn't notice anything. So, I mean, are there others, or have we got a bit of a captured market at the moment in 40 on L?
So I think that's also one of the significant features of this development, is the fact that you don't find many developments in the Bo Kaap. It's not the easiest place to develop in terms of getting approvals and whatnot. The community is really strong there as well. So that is a significant feature that we have, is that you won't find as much competition in terms of specifically what we've done for the area and the building that we've kind of built there, being 40 on L. But you will find a couple of smaller boutique developments on the outside of Bo Kaap, just not right in the heart under Signal Hill.
Yeah. And so the kind of general opportunities that exist in the property market down in Cape Town, and the property market maybe as a whole, have you guys got any views on that?
So, I mean, to be honest, if we look at kind of the numbers and the statistics of tourism growth specifically, it's basically a massive amount of potential upside. Obviously the property market, no one can call it as a whole, but and it does move in cycles. So it's not to say there's no risk at all. But if we look at the potential upside, just with the way tourism's growing and globalization still as a whole kind of taking place, guys coming down here, digital nomads, word of mouth in terms of people coming down, going back, saying, wow, Cape Town's really great. For me,
And
Cape
cheap.
Town operates, and cheap was another big one for the Europeans. But I think people are pleasantly surprised in terms of Cape Town itself operates, pretty much as a first world city, in my opinion. So we've got working public transport, we've got power for most of the day, all of those kind of let's say features that other first world cities have. Maybe not economically, South Africa is considered first world, but definitely the city itself for me is a first world city. And I think the more people come down and experience that, the more they go back and they kind of share the news with relatives and friends.
Yeah. And so maybe on the back of that, I mean, just to expand what you're saying a little bit more, is there anything that you can share with us around kind of general misconceptions in the property market?
So, I mean, if we look at South Africa as a whole, general misconceptions, I suppose, are that anything you buy will turn to gold. That's obviously not the case. You still need to do your research, do your due diligence, make sure that you are, if you're purchasing for investment, make sure it's a viable investment. Does it tick your boxes in terms of what you need as an investment? So either from a lifestyle perspective or from purely an ROI. And then another one would be that no two areas are the same, right? So it's a harsh statement to say that South Africa as a whole, for example, has zero capital growth or has amazing capital growth. You need to do your research into a specific area once again and make sure that you are really covering all your bases in terms of making the right choice for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a key thing that we try to drive home as well with Easy Properties is diversification. It's one of the benefits of being able to invest through Easy Properties is that you get access to properties like 40 on L in Bo Kaap, beautiful development. The Cape Town market's really pushing ahead at the moment, but you also get opportunities to invest, in some of the more desirable areas in Joburg and KZN and Umhlanga. It's a good opportunity to diversify. Just talking about ROI and things like that, Samuel, some of the capital growth that you guys have noticed in 40 on L from guys who maybe bought in when it was first developed and maybe some secondary sales coming through the market. Have you seen an increase in the capital prices that people are achieving?
So, yeah, I mean, look, there's always kind of, there's not as many resales, I would say, that happens maybe in the Bo Kaap area specifically. We have a lot of guys that are running them as investments, even guys that we sold to originally, we've seen a lot of those owners kind of hang on to the units.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is a yield-based play, and guys that have bought in that building, have bought for kind of a significant reason. They want that home away from home. But speaking to, I mean, if I look at maybe just on the other side of the mountain, but where I know that we've done a very high amount of resales, in a location not far away. I mean, we've seen guys that bought in, 2019 in some of our buildings, and since then, either like a return on equity being return on cash portions that they put in, or kind of capital growth figures, return on equity being about, anywhere from about 30 to 60% for some of the resales over a 2-year period, which is incredible.
It's phenomenal.
And then it's absolutely mind blowing. I mean, guys that bought 100% bond and then are able to flip a property without putting any capital outlay, and it's ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's an element of risk, don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
So I mean, look, the growth in the market is pretty steady. It's been quite a pleasure to watch over the last kind of 2 years as it's unfolded.
Yeah, you guys in the property market in Cape Town are enjoying a good property investment summer, eh?
Yeah, so we have lots of guys that have bought in buildings where, it's a typical thing we see at BLOK is across all of our buildings, to be honest. There's summer comes, guys have bought their units, they're short-term leasing, let's say March comes, and then we just get a flood of inquiries from previous owners that have said, like, look, summer was great, we loved it, the returns were great, we've had tons of tourists down here, where's the next building? What's the next opportunity? Which for us it just hits home so hard as a brand.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've obviously invested in 40 on O and 6 on N. We've thankfully gone through like a whole period. I mean, obviously the tourism in Western Cape slows down generally over those winter months, but we've got to enjoy some significant returns over some of the summer months down there. I think in some instances on 40 on O, we were more than doubling what our original projections were. Obviously, those are the bumper months, and it slows down, so it kind of normalizes slightly over the year. But we've enjoyed some really bumper returns out of the other BLOK buildings.
Yeah, and I think a nice point quickly, just as an add-on to that, which is something that we've seen starting to trend in the data, is your off months have started to pick up quite a bit as well. So we're finding that, with the right rental management companies, of course, and, all the right key factors in place, is that during the winter months, you actually have a significantly higher occupancy than you would have had, a couple of years ago. And I think that's kind of, you can attest that to, people like the digital nomads, which kind of come here over a longer period or different periods of the year, which is, once we get that perfectly right, I think is another opportunity to unlock.
Yeah, without a doubt. Samuel, thank you so much for your time. It's been good to chat. We obviously got about 14 odd days left on our 40 on L raise. We're hoping for a good run into the close of this raise and to secure the transaction and start enjoying some of the returns that the Bo Kaap property market offers. So thank you very much.
Awesome, no problem at all. Great catching up with you.